Alex.
Hey, Aaron.
Where are we at? Where are we at now? You and I, look, Bruce Cervon, rest in soul, rest in peace, was certainly the kind of guy that was not super popular socially in such a way where people talk a lot about him who knew him immediately preceding the years following his passing. But he was a genius. He was one of the great. The whole Vernon Chronicles only existed because Bruce Cervon gave of himself to that project, right? I would imagine, at the time, people complained that Bruce Cervon did Vernon's hands, and they were complaining that Vernon didn't do the material because, of course, he wasn't alive anymore. But looking back on that, I think that's absurd. Like the idea of getting to see Bruce Cervon do that stuff sounds to me like an incredible treasure, right?
Agreed. A lot of the material we saw in the last one, it was like watching Vernon. He's very deliberate. Everything is very important. There's no extraneous movements. I mean, it's really just. I think it's the highest level of sleight of hand magic that there is. He's as good as you can get, and it's what you said. It's just a pleasure to watch the man do what he does. He's amazing. It's an inspiration.
It's very interesting because knowing Bruce and knowing Larry Jennings, Bruce and Larry were probably the two most top students of Vernon who were hanging in those years at the castle. But knowing them both, I can say that they were different, totally different. I can see why there was a social split because Larry was a bit of a trucker. Larry liked to have a beer. Larry liked to party. Larry liked to kick back with his cowboy hat on, and you go drinking with Larry. Bruce, I believe, was a bit of a square guy. Bruce was a serious guy. I don't think he partied a lot. I think he saved all his brain cells for the work.
And I would say that it's almost like he chose a different path. It's more like he's an aristocrat. Like he's a guy that will, if he's having a drink with you, he's going to sit with the proper glass in the proper chair at the proper moment to have that drink. As opposed to Larry's like, hey, let's go to the bar and get it done. Right? I think they're just two way different guys.
That's right. And both in a self-made sense. I don't think Bruce was an aristocrat the way our friend Guy Hollingworth is legitimately an aristocrat.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted to hold himself a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Michael Skinner was like that.
He seemed to work for the upper echelon of the folks that would hire people from the castle. So it seemed like he was maintaining that sort of position. Like he was that guy that would entertain those folks, right?
Skinner had a similar energy, but he moved off to Las Vegas, but only because he played it well enough that he got that full-time gig. So what kind of we saw last time we saw Cards Across? I'm sorry I missed it. What book was that in, by the way? Was that in Ultra?
All the stuff that we're looking at is Ultra. It's really all the show material, right? Like all the really pro material that Bruce had.
All right. Well, let's hop in. Today we're going to do card tricks.
It's more card stuff, but all the best plots and the best handlings and.
Yeah. Can't wait to see it because, his hands really were. Like when I was growing up, they used to talk a lot about Steve Freeman because Steve Freeman, they used to say, would have hands of gold. So when you would see a pass or something and it would look like Steve Freeman's, it would look, something like that, right? It would have that certain energy to it. Bruce, I feel like probably had hands more like Vernon's. Really firm, direct, masculine, but not soft enough in a way that was on purpose where you go, ooh, so soft. It was designed to be very much like Vernon. And I feel like when we watch this, we're going to see a guy's hands that were probably a lot like Vernon's hands were.
And Bruce is definitely more of a showman than Steve, I would say, too,
Quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Bruce had a lot of material and did a lot of shows.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And Steve would have been the first to tell you that he was out of that frame of mind pretty early in life and working in another field. Bruce made that beautiful sacrifice that you make when you say, well, the only way to get good enough at this for me is to do it for a living. It's going to have to be my job.
That's right.
So we both understand the illness he had, right, Alex?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately. All right, let's get into this.
You know how most magicians, when they take out a deck of cards, they always say to you, here, take out a card. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to riffle the cards, and anytime you like, you're going to say stop. When you say stop, I'm going to lift the cards up, and I'm going to show you the card at that spot, okay? Don't forget what it is. Because you see, if you come to the end of the trick and the fella says, I don't remember the card, not much of a trick. See what I mean? All right. Anytime you like, say stop. Look at the card, don't forget. Okay? You won't forget.
No.
Remember the card. I want everybody to.
You can't.
It's a back.
Oh, very funny. Very funny. You were just going to let me go on. I see. Look at this.
Look at that pose, y'all.
Look at this. I forgot. I brought the wrong. Look at that. I actually brought the wrong deck of cards. I can't believe it. You know, the thing about these are that. Oh, look. Here's an ace. See the marking right there? See it? See it? Now, here's another one right here. You can see the marking. It's right there on. Here, let me show you. No, it's there. It's there right here. Let me show. No. There's another one. See, there's another one. See, I know there's got to be another one here somewhere. Let's see if I can. See if I can find. No. All right. Let me try this. Let's try this. Let's just run through here. I know that ace. There it is, right there. Can you see the marking right in the corner there? Can you see it? No. Well, here, maybe you can see it better on this side. You can't see it there either. No, well, they are. There is a difference there. Here, look. I'll tell you what. Let's take the Joker out of here. There it is, right there. I don't want to use the Joker anyway. You know what I mean? We don't want to use the Joker. And let's try to finish this whole trick. Look. That's all I have to do. And as soon as I do that, all the cards print themselves. Over here, we have all four aces.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Uh-huh.
Huh? So all backs, right? Certainly a trick with the people who like it, people who don't. I've never been a person that likes it, but he just did it in a way that made it more compelling than any version I've ever seen.
I usually hate that trick, but I love that version of that trick. And I don't know if I'm pushed over the edge to want to do it, but I loved watching that. I think that was really wonderful.
And I think he probably used a little something extra, but he used it in such a delicate, subtle way. And I think the way he played it didn't, it played, you know what I mean? You could really play that for an audience. And by the time it's ending, it should be ending. And it was also just about the most convincing sequence. If you just want to look at, because you can not like the trick, but you can still say some people do it in a way that's really deceptive and gets more deceptive. But many people don't. That's the thing. I can't really say some people do that because that's one of the problems is the trick doesn't really leave that feeling most of the time. But that time it did, right? Right up until just around the time he needed to do something really clean, he did something and turned that double backer incredibly cleanly. I mean, it was just so beautiful. It felt like the whole Magic Way was built into that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Man.
So good.
Yeah,
I
was lost in it. I was like, how does he know where the aces are and what's going on? It's good.
It's really good because it's not, instead of spending all the time displaying all backs to you, he spends no time displaying all backs to you. He spends all the time trying to express to you that the card's identity is obscured. He's finding the aces, right, is what he's doing. And instead of doing these shows where it's like, really, they're all backs. They're really backs this way. They're really backs that way. They're backs the other way. If I do this, they're backs. I'll take this off. Still a back. He's not really doing that, which gets to be rather old. He's assuming that you can see that. He's trying to tell you, no.
I can see him. Even though they look weird, I can see him.
It was absolutely beautiful, man. That was absolutely beautiful. And that's an Ultra Cervon?
That's an Ultra Cervon. Yeah.
Man, I might have to.
I have a feeling you're going to be pulling. I pulled my book down the other day. I have a feeling you're going to be doing the same. It's there's a lot of great stuff, and we're inundated with magic. We see so much good magic that you forget how much good magic you know and that you've seen, and that's really at your fingertips. It's really something. We're in a very fortunate age in that sense, right?
I do feel that Bruce, relative to how much magic he developed and how much he worked,
yeah.
I feel like he didn't put very much of it relative to how much he did in print. So I feel like when you get into something like Ultra Cervon or Ultra Cervon's the red one, right?
That's right. And
then that Cervon file.
And the Cervon file's the first one.
But either way, what I'm suggesting is it's such a small portion of what Bruce's notebooks would have been that every time, every one of these routines is perfect. I mean, that's a perfect all backs routine. Absolutely wonderful.
I think that's the best way to put it. It's a perfect all back.
Now, what are we going to do next?
Yeah, let's jump into the next one here.
And I'm curious
I don't want to say too much, right?
I'm curious to know how long it is, because sometimes it's important to pop in while it's going, and other times it's best not. 3:45.
It's only a few minutes. All these are pretty short, so I think we're good just to watch it. But call it out, and I'm happy to stop it. We can comment any moment.
All right.
God, that's great. Listen, I want to show you this little card trick. I think you'll enjoy it. I did a trick for a psychologist one time, and I asked the guy, how many cards could a person remember at one time without a lot of trouble? What do you think he told me?
10. 15.
No, not even close. Not even close. He told me 4. And he said then they'd have to be very, very simple, and you'd have to be very straightforward, you have to be very clear. Because, I mean, with any certainty. See what I mean? Because 10, maybe they might remember, but I certainly wouldn't. You probably could, but I couldn't. So I designed a trick around the fact that you use 4 cards and you remember them with certainty. You can see how the thing is done. All right, now just for fun, here's what I've done. I've taken an ace, a 2, a 3, and a 4 of clubs, okay? Now here's the first card. There's the ace right there. See, I want to take that ace, and I'm going to take that ace, and I'm going to put that ace into the middle of the package like that, okay? Now, look, I just push it in like that. Wave my hand over the packet, and unbelievable as it may seem, that ace comes right back to the top. No.
Yeah.
Let me show you again, because you
No.
didn't even know what I was going to do. You had no idea. I mean, this is like a flash in the pan, and I want to do it again. I don't want you to think that I cheat. All right, there's the ace, right? There's the ace. All right, now watch. There's the ace. I take that ace, I put it into the middle of the packet. Now look, push it in, snap the fingers, and there the ace comes. You know, let me tell you something. The problem with this is that you can only follow the positions of these cards if you have a very clear mind. And you may, I don't know, I'm not going to ask anybody, maybe you went to lunch and had a little, extra. And I mean, I understand that people do that, and I don't want to insult anybody, but let's just make it clearer, let's make it simpler so you don't have to follow so many cards, okay? Because I know that tends to be a little confusing. So look, here we'll do the next one with the
Bruce.
2, okay? There's the 2. Now watch the 2, watch. There it is right there. Now look, I take that 2 and I put it right in the middle like this. Push it in. Snap the fingers, and the 2 comes back. All right, look, one more time, all right? 2, 2, 2, right?
All right.
There it
All
is.
right.
Now watch. I'm going to put the 2 right in.
Ah,
No. You thought
got
that I
Brennan.
did something. No. The
Yeah, you
2
should pause that.
really
I'm
and
sorry.
truly does go right in the middle.
that was just, if you ever want to know what a Vernon ambitious card routine's all about, that was the exact moment.
You're watching too close.
Okay, so that's at 2:30. Let's finish the routine, and we can go back to 2:30 and watch that
All right.
beautiful feint again.
All right.
Really does. Just a snap of the fingers. So see, now I thought if I put that 2 in here face up, you could actually see it as it came through the other cards. See what I mean? Look. What the heck here? Wait, let's start again. Let me start again. Look, we just snap our fingers and, look, I'll tell you what, let's make it simpler because it's possible that you imbibed a little more than you should have. So look, let's just use a 3 and a 4, okay? Just a 3 and a 4. What's on top?
The 4.
No, see, I'll give you a hint. What's on top?
The 3.
Okay, that's good. All right. Now, if I take that 3 and I put the 3 underneath, what's on top now?
The 4.
Exactly. See, I haven't snapped my fingers yet, but as soon as I do that, the 3. Look, I'll tell you what. Let's make it simpler because it's very. But I can't do anything with a 4.
This is so funny.
God, that's great. Listen,
Isn't this funny? Okay, we're going to go back to 2:30 here, but just before we get this going, before we talk about this real quick, was it Scott Levin who did
2,
It might
right?
not have been Scott
There,
Levin, but we had. Pardon me if I didn't get the name right. If it was someone else, but someone did the ambitious classic. What we're talking about here with a too many cards type presentation, right? Which is a
Uh-huh.
trick that Larry worked on and Bruce worked on and Dingle had, and it was a very popular trick. And you and I were talking for the last year. We brought up that trick, and you and I had both found it to be like problematic. I relearned it and discovered that it just was sort of plagued with problems, all sorts of problems. And then we had saw Scott do it, and he invested in it so strongly. A member
Okay.
named Scott,
Remember
that
now.
I felt like it really played well because he invested in it.
Mhm.
But this is another example. This routine is so much stronger than any of the routines you and I talked about. Do you feel like this is a substantively better trick than the trick that we were thinking about because of how
Yeah,
it's
well,
constructed?
Bruce is doing the same thing that Scott was doing, and I think you have to do this to make this trick work. You can't go on a straightforward path of I'm going to do this and then this happens and there's the trick. You have to like have this moment that Bruce is really exploiting of I'm going to do this and wait a second. Now that's not going to work, and you're doing like your inner monologue out loud as you're trying to fix the magic problem. I think that's the only way that trick really works. Otherwise, it's too much of like you're showing off. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
all magic really.
yeah, true.
But it was very clear in this case, and I'm only suggesting that Bruce's actual handling, the actual way he did is doing the methods, the way it feels very clean, the way he's using certain principles so that it always feels very clean. There's really a sense that there's 4 cards there. There's really a sense you're getting the full poop out of the packet ambitious process with that. You know what I mean? It's really beautiful. For
And he's
example,
showing both sides, right? So you feel like you're seeing everything at all moments. Yeah, you're right.
it's really great. And case in point, he's invested so thoroughly in the ambitious nature of the trick that he goes into a straight Vernon style middle phase where with even though it's within the packet, this is the kind of thing, you know, Tamariz has said very clearly that when the Escuela de Magia de Madrid began to create their point of view on what we now call the magic way, the theory of false solutions, well, this was starting with everyone who had been studying Vernon for years.
Right.
And, or as we used to say in America, lead them down the garden path and turn the hose on them. That's about as much theory as we put into it here. But the principle is the same. Then that's what comes out in tactics that we end up calling feints, for example. Let's take a look at how Bruce does this particular sequence. And this is sort of very, very much a Vernon type thing to do.
Right. Totally.
there it is. Now watch. I'm going to put the 2 right in.
Let's go back a little bit more.
There it is. Now watch. I'm going to put the 2 right in.
Let's get a clear picture of that. I'm sorry. That was
Yeah.
All right, look, one more time, all right?
Well, it's important for everyone to know.
2, 2, right? There it is. Now watch. I'm going to put the 2 right in.
big, huge feint.
Just watch to the end because just watch this next little
No.
bit. This is
You
the thing.
thought that I did something.
Bruce.
No.
Bruce doesn't flash. Bruce doesn't flash. In this moment where you thought, oh, I saw it all. That doesn't happen with Bruce unless he wants you to feel that way. So that's the really what it's meant to look like when you do that Vernon thing. You know, you take that card and everyone feels like they caught that one a little bit. And then, of course, they turn the card over and nothing happened. And it is a mind warp to people, right? It's an effect. It's interesting musically, right? Because it's a surprise. The surprise is that nothing happened. Right? You're saying, I put this in the middle and it went to the top.
It's almost like a magic joke, right?
It's like I put it in the middle. I went, now let's try it again. Watch very carefully. And you're like, even whether you don't say it out loud, you feel it. And he goes, no, man, watch carefully. So it's like you're damned for not watching, then you start to watch, and then you get damned for watching too close. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And as the effects stack up on the mind of a spectator, it ultimately leads them to give up their attempts to catch you, and just hopefully, if it's combined with the right performance energy, enjoy the ride.
Just go on the ride.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, for me, Mystic, I don't think so. But it's interesting, right? Because feints are built into the structure of things, but I think they tend to feel so idiosyncratic and individual to magicians that half the time when the magician builds a feint into a routine, the magicians that want to learn it don't want to learn the feint. Isn't
That's
that a
right.
weird thing? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because you can put a feint into just about anything, and it's very effective. You know what I mean? One of the things that we've often discussed, and I think this is a good example of it, John Carney would tell you that a lot of people do their feints too intensely. That he likes his feints to be so small that, well, smaller than what Bruce did. But here's the point, and I think Bruce feels the way I would feel, which is that in the real universe for real people, unfortunately, little feints like that aren't strong enough for them to actually know anything happened. I mean, 90% of the time, right, we have a small tell in everything we do, and people don't notice those.
It's probably perfect for the Magic Castle, though, for the stuff that John does on a regular basis. Those small feints are probably just right for him.
It's interesting because I personally think that Bruce Cervon was as much of a castle creature as John, and I feel like whatever their differing opinions would be would certainly both be based on that exact parlor.
That's definitely an interesting point of view. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So what are we up to now?
All right, so let's move on here. This one is a little bit different. It does have a gambling flair to it.
Yay!
Much more than that, because it's a good one, man. It's a good one. Let's get into this here.
Notice how tight.
Paul, let me. Since I know you're.
Say it again.
Said, notice how tight all these tricks are. They're all like 3 minutes.
Right, sign of a pro, right?
Poker player, you enjoy playing a game now and then. Would you mind giving the cards a little shuffle for me? Just shuffle them up. And I want you to deal out 4 hands of poker. Yeah, 4 hands. Yeah, just 4. You needn't deal me in.
Okay.
Because, no, just 4, 5 cards. See, I have my own hand.
That's fair.
Okay.
Well, that's fair, isn't it? Somehow you don't look as though you go for this. No. You wouldn't go for this in a regular game, is that right? That wouldn't be the way you'd want to play. Well, I'll tell you what, I understand that. So what we'll do is this. We're going to make it fair, even though I like to carry around my own hand and play whatever I like. Let's do this. We're going to put one over here, and we'll put a hand over here. We'll put one here, and we'll put one there. I'm going to switch cards with each one of you. And the way we're going to do that is in such a way so that I don't know what I'm doing, and neither do you. It's sort of like night baseball. You know, it's a game that they used to play. You want you to pick up your cards like this, and you're going to mix your cards up. See what I mean? You're going to mix them around like that. And when you're all done mixing, that's right, just mix them up. When you're all done mixing, I give you my top card, you give me yours. Okay? All right. Now you can look at your hand if you like. Would you do the same thing over there? Mix them up. I give you my top card. You give me yours. Okay? Next, I give you my top card. That's very nice of you. You gave me a perfect card. You do the same thing.
This is great.
Right?
This is so great.
So far, you gave me this one, and you gave me this one, you gave me this one, and you gave me this one. There's only one card that I have left in my hand from before we started. All right? Now I'm going to put that right on the front, and I'll put that right in the middle of the table. I don't look at my cards. You each gave me one card from your hands. I'll bet the complete contents of my wallet that my hand, the one that you just gave me, and I didn't even look at, will beat the best hand that you four can put together. Huh?
Put together.
Well, yeah.
Look, what do you
show our
got?
cards?
You
We
can
show
just put your
cards?
cards right out there. Put them right out there. What do you got there? What do you got?
So awesome,
Well, there's a
man.
pair of tens here, and look, there's a pair of. Oh, you're going to
And
use all the
and it's
cards,
such
mix
a
them
game,
around.
right?
Yeah.
It's such a
Yep.
game. So much room to play.
Totally.
Well, that's not
yeah.
what I meant.
Oh,
Well, all right. Look, there's an 8 there, and there's 3 8s, and what
he's
do you got?
helping
That's
now.
well, queens, is that high?
There's a 4, 5. Well, there's a 4,
Here's
5,
four.
6,
You can have a
6,
three.
7.
Oh my God, you got
Diamonds.
4 4s.
5.
Oh man, there's no way I'm going to beat that.
Unless you got 4 kings.
There's
No.
one
What
right
you
there.
got, Bruce?
No, I couldn't have that. No. Gee.
Full house.
Gee.
No, I didn't have, but
Oh
I
my
have. That's pretty good, wouldn't you
That-
say?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Come on. How awesome is that? It's such a great trick, man.
And for so many reasons.
For so many reasons.
Like I thought he was going to do ultra mental, routined isn't that what it's called? Poker mental, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that old thing, which is a
Totally.
wonderful thing,
Which
which
is a
I've
great trick. Totally.
which I've got on that little short list of tricks I would love to sort of use in shows before I die kind of thing. You know, it's on that list, right?
Yeah.
But this, you know, he does the process feels incredibly clean, right? And then he says some pretty vague wording about those rules. And then everyone gets to rewrite whatever it is in a way that helps them really just feel like they're taking advantage. And the way it worked for him, it was so seemingly random and fair. The idea that his hand would be contrived in a magical way is just doesn't even really seem possible. They'd like ignore his hand because it's unimportant. And they work together in team building exercise to create their hand. It was what he basically got to sit back and have everyone party mid trick. You know, it's beautiful.
And it's like they forgot there's a trick even going on, right? Like they're wrapped up in that idea of building that hand. They forget that there's anything going on and that possibly could have anything to do with what they're doing at that moment. It's really good. It's a lot like a big cloud of fog came over the whole presentation, right? It's really cool.
And do you remember how BJ used to always talk, our friend BJ Bueno, who's a genius magician and really a genius in a lot of areas, and a dear friend of the club, and you can see club members can see his workshop he did on the Muy Bueno Shuffle, which is one of the most beautiful sleight of hand
Totally awesome. Yeah.
things ever presented. But you know, BJ has always been a big fan of sharing with me that, you know, in Spanish, card trick, as you would say it to people in a normal, let me show you a card trick, what they would say is a juego de cartas, which means a game with the cards, you know, a game of cards, which not, you know, necessarily a game of cards, but the idea that a magic trick is conceived to be playing a game, is to enjoy this game, right? This really felt that way. And BJ was always a very big, because I was getting obsessed with Spanish thinking and the magic, and this was many years ago. And BJ's point is that after you open the show,
all that stuff.
BJ, very helpful, right? But BJ's point was once you've opened them up, once you've got them on your side, if you then shift into something that feels more like a game or a puzzle, something we can all work on together, the kind of thing that often is considered not to be very snappy show material, like the absolute best thing you could do if you had a very high-end show, say a very well-paid, lovely kind of situation type show. And if you were to do a couple good pieces of magic and get everyone just psyched up and then say something like what Bruce just did, now everyone's in it. And the more they're in it and engaged, you know, we did that trick selection system. We put together a whole map for everybody. You can find it in the blog, and we have a big training plan on it for the members about how you want to, once you get their attention, the idea is to get them engaged. And this was all engagement. You know what I mean?
That's
like
right.
on an
Everybody
energetic
feels
level,
like
they're
they're friends
invested.
after a trick like this, right? It's
and
good.
they're investing in what's happening in such a way that coming out of a trick like that, any good thing you would have done before is going to be 10 times stronger because they've
Totally.
sort of
They're more
become,
engaged. They're with you, right? They're just with you now.
they're not necessarily, a lot of times a group of people come in watching as people. On the other side of a trick like that, they're an audience,
Right.
and
Right.
they and you can feel it, you know what I mean? And the same trick that you might have thought, I need a stronger closer. Well, maybe you didn't. Maybe your closer was fine. Maybe the middle needs to bring people into position to soak up the juice of that closer. You know, it's a tricky little thing. That was such a great trick. What's he call that one?
He calls that one to pay the price.
Okay, to pay the price. I'm going to look that one up after,
Yeah.
because frankly, it's so good.
And
I
it's a
want
very satisfying method. It almost
it's
doesn't
sneaky,
sound
right?
pretty good. It's sneaky. It's really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's really
It
good.
didn't look like at the end of it he was doing a 5 card switch. Really, it looked like
No.
much subtler.
That whole thing is doing itself pretty much. It's really just a wonderful piece of magic.
It really seemed like it.
Yeah.
It really seemed just like what you're saying. You know, absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Let's see some ones out there. If you guys thought that that was astonishing, a good piece of magic. That's wonderful, and we're going to get into that one, and we'll share it in more detail at some point soon. I have a feeling, so don't worry about it. You know,
Well, let's continue on. I have one more for us today, and
really, because that one was so good. I just feel like, wow.
This
I
one's,
mean, I can
this
handle
one's
one
gonna
more.
blow your head off. This one's really good. This one's one of my favorites.
Okay.
Should I not? Should we save it?
No. I just want to see what it is. All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do this thing.
Paul, give him a little shuffle for me. Paul's going to shuffle the cards, and as soon as he do, Paul, leave the magic tricks to me, will you? Very funny.
Like
Give him a
bonus
shuffle.
thing.
Give him a good solid shuffle. And I got to ask you
Bonus
a question.
basis?
Since you are a card player, I've got to ask you a silly question. Have you been to Las Vegas?
Yes.
Good. You know what to watch for. Me. Yeah. See, in case you didn't see it, I'll do it again, okay?
Yeah.
Kind of silly if you ask. Think about it for a minute. See, there's 52 aces in the deck. Not counting these, of course. See, Paul, you got to really pay close attention. Otherwise, you don't see how the trick is done. It's very, very simple, though. See, I could make these cards, I could make these aces do almost anything I want. I could make them go into my pocket if I want, or I can make them even go into your pocket if I like. Here, do this. Hold your hand like this. Look. Here they are. All right? Huh? You ready? Did you feel it?
No.
Huh? Look and see. Listen, I'll tell you what. Let me go a step further than this. You know, a lot of people say, could you do that? Could you do it again only under test conditions? Now, you know what that means when you say test conditions, don't you? Mm-hmm. All right. What I want you to do is, before we start the trick, look through the deck of cards, make sure that there are no extra aces. See, there's only the 4 aces. That's all I have to use in this trick. I don't use any more than
So
that. Right?
there.
Are there any extra aces?
No.
None. Okay. Now, I want you to name one of these aces for me, out loud.
Ace of diamonds.
Ace of diamonds. Okay. There's the ace of diamonds. I'd like you
Okay.
to write your name very large and very bold, Paul, across the face of that ace of diamonds.
Okay.
Now, Paul could have taken any card he wanted, you know, any one of the aces. It makes no difference. That's good. He wrote his name on the ace of diamonds. He has it all fixed up there. Paul, what we're going to do is this. I'm going to use about half of these, and I said I'm going to set this up in a very unusual way. First of all, your card with with Paul written on there. There it is right there. See, it has Paul written on there. And we're going to put those cards, those aces, right out here. Now, before I do anything else, I don't want to lose my pen, see, because these are expensive. And I also want to put my wallet right out here in the middle of the table, because in just a minute, that's going to be very important. The 4 aces go here. The deck goes on top.
It's my kind of trick, bro.
There they are. Watch.
I love the Cervon pinky, yo.
Did you see it?
No.
He's not kidding with that
The
pinky.
aces have
Not
gone
kidding.
again.
Put a ring on it.
Now, I know to you it seems impossible, but I want
Got
you
a
to
hole
see
through your
that
head.
they really and truly are gone. Each and every one of those 4 aces has vanished. Where just a moment ago we had them, we now have none. Look, there's the queen, there's the jack of diamonds, the queen of spades,
Like
The
truth,
Joker.
love, freedom, and liberty, bro. Gone.
but no ace.
In his pocket.
No. Look,
Tom's uncomfortable. Look at
we
that.
put
It's
this
awesome.
wallet out here
Oh,
before
wait.
we even made the aces disappear, didn't we?
Oh.
I didn't touch it, did I?
No.
No.
Inside this wallet,
Uh-huh.
we have, it's a postcard that I forgot to mail. Boy, that's been in there for a while. Look at that, 1958. Oh, when have you seen his 3-cent stamp left? That's impossible. But not only that, Paul, there's something else there. A sealed envelope, hermetically sealed. What I'd like you to do, Paul, is I want you to take out
Thank you.
what you find inside and show everyone. It should be the 4 aces, and the ace of diamonds should say, Paul.
Dirty, dirty, dirty. Clean, you know. But dirty.
Clean. I love all the pocket stuff. That repeat going to the pocket on his own, then it goes into his pocket. Like, what is happening? It's so good, man.
It's just a heavenly construction, right?
Yeah, totally.
And you know how he's doing that shtick up front that you can tell he's like Bruce is not afraid of mixing it up with people, you know? He definitely could have an aggressive tinge to it, but plenty of people are a little bit like watching wallpaper, and it's not great either. And I think Bruce made a decision not to be wallpaper, to directly engage the people, and I think for whatever it's worth, it's better than trying to have everyone just think you're a nice person. It's better at least to let them meet you and engage. You know what I mean?
It goes back to the idea of even like a good movie, like any good story, you need some conflict. And Bruce is sort of conflict with shoes, right? Like everything about him is sort of conflicting. So you're like interested and you're there with them at every step. And you need that for magic.
That's what I'm saying.
Character.
Like if you can't mountebank a little, if you don't know how to get those things happening, there's nothing to hang on to. There's no ledge for the audience. And so it's just interesting how he was setting that up, because he's doing those repeat aces things at the beginning. And I think in his mind, what he was writing is, do this in a kind of overbearing way to make it very clear that what is not amazing. So he starts off by going, and they go, see, I did it like this. See, I can pull him out of there, and it's not really in there. And then, as opposed to what I'm going to do now, then he gets into this, boom, they appear in your pocket. Now you sign them. Now challenge conditions. So it's a beautiful, good setup, good like expose setup, followed by like a 2 or 3 phase challenge conditions, signed cards to wallet, right?
And it's not just the wallet, it's that envelope, right?
Right.
Just over
It's really
the
hard.
envelope really elevates the whole thing.
That's really the point, of course. You know, it's interesting because it's very easy to say wallet when there's a wallet involved, but really, we know the wallet was just a holder for that sealed envelope. Thank you for that.
That is mail. It's just his mail in the envelope.
It's just very interesting to watch that whole structure, the way that works, because he's definitely doing a most unclassical thing there. He is really exposing the idea that I could take these cards and secretly pull them out of my pocket. And
Right.
you can probably tell how that's happening. So now let's do something where nothing like that ever happens. And then, of course, he uses that exact method
To turn it on its ear. Yeah.
by, in conjunction with the correct timing, structure, and misdirection in such a way to make it feel as though the wallet's on the table, signed cards are on the table, signed cards go into the deck, signed cards are in the sealed envelope. So using the exact same thing that he, gave away at the beginning.
Yep.
It always kind of blows my mind, when we think back to Penn and Teller in the early days when we were getting started in Magic. And Penn and Teller were the first people I heard using sleight names on TV. I'd never heard of those moves before. The first time I got interested in the pass is when Penn turned to Teller in the middle of the card stab and said, the people saw your pass, Teller.
Right.
Let me help you with that, and he exposes the force and the pass and the switch, and then accidentally stabs the knife through Teller's hand and he's bleeding. It's the 3 of clubs and it's a wonderful trick. But really what they knew at the time and what is very clear is that all throughout time, great magic is often about helping people understand how this might be done and then not doing it that way.
Right. You have a little bit of knowledge, and now I'm going to use it against you.
That's right. And they say, and Mystic is saying, I never touched it. And they say, yes, but of course it's because it's not so much deception as resetting the audience's mind about when it's beginning. No one's suggesting that it's not, that they never touched their wallet in history, but they're suggesting that we've got a signed card, we've got a wallet. That's the beginning. From this point forward, with total conviction and looking at signed cards, looking at a wallet, trick is beginning, and I'm never going to touch them. And from that point, you don't.
And that picture is consistent, right? Those 4 aces were on the table. The wallet was out. Then he put those aces into the middle of the deck. So the picture that the spectator saw is consistent with that story, right?
No, it's real. That's what I'm saying. I'm just suggesting that it's one thing to make them feel like to make them agree to something which is boldly not accurate. But in this case, I would say it wasn't even not accurate. It's just, he did the handling. You should have all the evil stuff done before and have everyone believing that everything's what it's supposed to be when the show officially starts. You know what I mean? It's better than doing it in between that time and the effect.
That's right. Because there's nothing, right? They have nothing to grasp onto at that moment. There's nothing to backtrack to. Everything was so clean.
Well, I don't know when it was, but I used to, back in the day when I was a kid, I guess, I used to load a card in the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
But that was before I started doing it at the end of the ambitious card and having the signed card on the table, having the wallet in your hands, taking the signed card, making the signed card disappear while the wallet's in your hands. And there's just no doubt about it. That's what those tricks are about. Those tricks are about the nest of boxes. They're not about making a coin disappear and then having someone bring on a cart with a trunk, and the trunk's got a ball and the ball's got a ball and the box is in the ball. It's about having that trunk on stage in plain view, having the object in plain view. It disappears. No one's come near that thing. No one ever goes near that thing. And now it's revealed to be inside.
The guys that do the stage illusions that do that trick, they seem to have like the perfect picture that you need for that, right? Like they collect a bunch of information, and before the show starts, the assistant's loaded into a chest. The chest is chained and brought up into the lights, and it's hanging there until the entire show, until the end of the show when it's time to bring the chest down and the prediction matches, right? Like that's it. You want it to be so bulletproof, like everything's happened so deliberately, there's nothing to backtrack to, right? The picture is so clear.
And that's what Bruce did.
That's right.
And
the only thing that's left is magic.
And that's how, look, and inside the membership, I believe I've taught that card to wallet before in one of our shows, the one I do, which is
you have one where you teach it with 3. We have 3 selections and it goes to the wallet.
And I meet those same conditions.
That's
I
right.
do, more or less, right? It feels like what it should be, because those are look, that's a really good one, right? Because what happens is people cut They cut the deck and look at a card, right? And then you basically give the deck one shuffle and give it to the people, right? The wallet is held in the other people's hands. And then these looked at mental card selections, which no one even knows. I mean, that's a really good one.
That's
And it's Jerry,
strong presentation, man.
and
Really.
it's Jerry Sadowitz's, but I added a little bit of the thing that I can bring to the party. But it was really it's a good one. But I also taught in one of our, maybe check the old ambitious card APs. I've often gone from the pop-up card at the end of the ambitious card into a card to wallet, which allows you to get what Alex is talking about. So the moral of the story is, don't satisfy yourself unless you've got the audience believing clearly that your impossible location and your signed object are out in front of everybody at the same time. It doesn't mean that has to, technically speaking, be true. It just means people have to be willing to swear that it's happening.
Paint that picture at least.
Paint it good enough that people don't feel like that's your idea to make them feel that way, right? This was so exciting. This material is so good. It makes me feel like going and just diving into the Cervon oeuvre again,